So this whole thing kicked off when a patron sent me this box of old jewelry. He asked if I could maybe pull out any gold that was hiding inside. He kind of figured it was mostly just gold-plated stuff. But the real truth? Neither of us had any idea what we were actually dealing with.
And that mystery right there, that's what hooked me. I'd never actually refined gold from jewelry before, and I gotta admit, I was a little nervous. With gold, even a tiny little mistake can be incredibly expensive. But I just couldn't say no to a challenge like this.
So the big question is, how in the world do you take a tangled-up mess of scrap metal and turn it into pure, solid gold bars? Well, let's dive in and break it all down. Okay, first things first, before we can even think about fire or chemicals, we have to play detective. We've got to figure out what we actually have on our hands. So after we sort through the box, this is the inventory. And right off the bat, something was weird. See, gold-plated jewelry is usually made with cheap, light metals, like copper or steel. But these chains, whoa, they were heavy. Way, way too dense to be junk. I knew right then and there something valuable was hiding in this pile. Now, to really get what we're looking for, we've got to talk about carats. Pure gold is 24 karat, but it's super soft. So for jewelry, they mix it with other metals, usually copper or silver, just to make it tougher. An 18 karat piece, that's 75% gold. A 14 karat piece is about 58% gold. And that percentage, that little number, is the key to our entire refining strategy. Okay, so for the pieces that aren't marked, we've got a simple but really powerful test up our sleeve. We use concentrated nitric acid. Now, this stuff will dissolve most common metals, but high-purity gold, it's incredibly tough. So if you put a drop on a scratch and nothing happens, you've probably got high-carat gold. But if it fizzes up and changes color, yeah, not so much. And the results were pretty eye-opening. The bigger chains, they passed the acid test with flying colors. Absolutely no reaction. But that smallest chain, it practically dissolved, turning the acid this crazy blue and green color, which is a classic sign of copper. This told us we had to split things up. We'd process the good stuff one way and the scrap a completely different way. All right, with the detective work done, it is time to get our hands dirty. This is where the real alchemy begins. Now, here comes a step that sounds completely backward. To make the gold more pure, we first have to make it less pure. It's a process called inquartation. We actually melt the high-carat gold down with enough copper to bring the gold content all the way down to about 25%. So why would we do that? Well, at that lower purity, the gold atoms can't shield the other metals anymore, which lets the acid dissolve them away later. It's a weird but totally necessary step. But, of course, it didn't go smoothly. My first DIY furnace, which I built out of a big paint can, was a total bust. After 15 minutes, it wasn't even close to being red hot. The can was just too big for the blowtorches to handle. Back to the drawing board. And I should mention, this process isn't exactly without its dangers. Some torch heads are made of brass, and if you get that too hot inside a furnace, it can start releasing toxic zinc vapor. It's a serious reminder to always use the right equipment for the job. So a smaller can fixed the heating problem, and finally the metal melted. But then, disaster almost struck. During the second melt, the torch flames got so intense they burnt a hole right through the side of the graphite crucible, and molten metals started leaking out. I mean, a second longer and the whole thing could have broken apart. That was a very, very close call. Okay, with our low-carat alloy finally ready, we can move on to the heart of the whole operation, the chemical purification. And this is where that weird inquartation step really pays off. We drop the cooled metal flakes into nitric acid. And now, the acid can easily attack and dissolve all that copper and silver we added, which creates this absolutely beautiful, brilliant blue-green solution. And what's left behind at the bottom? This dark, porous, and surprisingly soft gold sponge. But our gold sponge, it's not totally pure yet. To really clean it up, we have to dissolve the gold itself. And for that, we need to bring out the legendary aqua or royal water. It's this fearsome mix of nitric and hydrochloric acids, and it's one of the only things on the planet that can actually dissolve gold. The real power of aqua is all about teamwork. You see, neither acid can do anything to gold on its own. It's a stalemate. But when you mix them, the nitric acid oxidizes a tiny bit of gold, and the hydrochloric acid immediately snatches those gold ions into the solution. This tag team action just keeps going until the entire gold sponge is dissolved into a clear yellow liquid called chloroauric acid. So we've literally turned solid gold into a liquid. And now we're going to reverse the trick. By adding a chemical called potassium metabisulfite, we force that dissolved gold to precipitate. Basically, it just falls right out of the solution as this fine, pure brown powder. It is so cool to watch. But we're not done yet. To get this powder as absolutely pure as possible, it goes through a whole series of intense washes. First, with boiling distilled water, and then, just for good measure, with boiling hydrochloric acid. And with each wash, any last little impurity gets stripped away, and you can actually see the powder getting lighter and lighter in color, which is a great sign that it's getting more and more pure.
Okay, after all that chemistry, all that fire, and all those close calls, we are finally at the moment of truth. Let's see what all that work actually got us.
From that main batch, the high carat chains, we got 75.1 grams. Not bad. But what about that pile of scrap we thought was mostly junk? Well, believe it or not, another 6.5 grams. Which brings our grand total to 81.6 grams of pure 24-karat gold. That's nearly 3 ounces recovered from what was just a mystery box of old jewelry. And what does that mean in real-world terms? Well, at the time this was done, that much gold was worth around $3,400 US. Just an absolutely incredible result from what started out as just some gold-plated stuff. It just goes to show you, real value can be hidden in the most unexpected places, just locked away by a little bit of chemistry and time. It kind of makes you wonder, doesn't it? What other forgotten treasures are out there, just hiding in plain sight, waiting to be rediscovered?